Welcome back, data leaders, to Insight Builder channel. Demystifying text AI, SQL query and pipelines. Enabling SQL-based querying with vector embeddings. The challenge that this particular video discusses about is going to be a different, novel method of working with embeddings and the related data that is pushed into the indexes. Using SQL query format along with pipelines and workflows inside TxtAI, working with large data feeds, if you're going to work with large data feeds, then using this format of workflows and pipelines can actually simplify the process rapidly. And you will see that the working with SQL query as well as with the large data feeds along with various models is going to be very simple. So once you look at it in action, then you will understand what I'm talking about. Debugging the data flow, debugging the functions that is involved inside the pipelines and the workflows can be very simple. Finally, swapping out the models. See, this is one of the important topic or important activity that you might be, doing it to test out your outputs, test out what is becoming different when you're using different models. So at that time, setting up the entire pipeline again newly could be a time consuming process. But in this case, all you need to do is write abstractions that can actually swap the models. So that is possible in case of working with TxtAI. You'll be seeing how that is possible in a couple of minutes. What we are going to do here is the topic talks about SQL query and pipelines, correct? So I'll be discussing about mainly how to do SQL querying with the indexes that you create. So in the earlier video, if you have been following, let us go to the browser for a moment. If you have been following up with the earlier videos, then you must have seen all the other playlists that I have come across. So you can take a look at these videos to understand the TxtAI library and the various other libraries available for making your life easy in NLP task. And we also discussed about how to work with the indexes, how to create indexes inside the TxtAI. So this is a follow-up video for that video. I'll be linking that video, and this is the notebook that I'll be following. So the notebook also will be shared with you guys. The link for this GitHub repo will be available in the description below. Let us go back to the presentation. The point what I'm trying to make here is that I'll be showing you a simple example pipeline. So in the earlier video, I already discussed about the various pipelines that is already coded inside TxtAI. And we'll be using that pipeline as a SQL custom function and then use the SQL select query method to leverage this function. So there are a couple of concepts involved here. So you have the large language, you have the models, the language models. You have the pipeline construct that is available inside TxtAI, and then you have the SQL query process. So if you know how to do SQL query, if you know how to use select clause, if you know how to use from, where, all those clauses inside SQL, then this is going to be very, very interesting for you guys. So without further ado, I would like to directly jump into the browser and start working with the example. So this particular example that I'm showing, it's already, it's a continuation of the earlier video. In the earlier video, I showed you how to create the embeddings, how to create the index from the embeddings, how to load the document. So the document that you are working on is the studies document, and this studies document is React Framework and Self-Ask PDF that we are working upon. And this particular document is already embedded and the index has been created. Now, in order to actually get the similarity, you can do a couple of ways. So you can ask what is self-ask. So this will give you the similarity of this will give you the semantic search for this particular question, and it will give you the answer. So let me execute this and it will give you the answer. So in this case, I have already loaded the index, so I don't need to load the index here again. And you see the answer, 7 different similar text snippets inside the index has been written for us. So if you change it to say 1 or 2, you will get 2 text snippets that are related to what is self-ask. This is a basic thing that you guys have already seen. But what is more interesting is that you can actually query using select from authors. So this is the name that we have given for the table, select from authors where similar. So here we ask what is self-ask. And when you execute this, So that will actually go into the embedding index that is already attached here, and then it will start pulling out the information. So the point I am trying to make here is that this search method can take SQL query format search also. So this is actually built into this method. This is actually pretty new. So this is something that I have not seen in other libraries. So I thought that I need to share this with you guys. This is one of the methods where you can work with this SQL query, but that is the start. By default, what happens is when you are going to create the index, the table that is created is called as TxtAi inside the index. So you can query. So if you query it, you can query the text, you can query the flag, and you can query the entry. So there are three different columns inside this table. So if you query that, and you can say where similar to language models. So this clause where similar to is kind of a filter. And also you can add the regular filters where you say, okay, the entry should be greater than or equal to yesterday. So it should be greater than 20th of April. So this is what I was trying to say, that when you are going to work with SQL like clauses, so you see the select clause, from clause, where clause, and clause, all these things are SQL clauses that you can directly use under search method. It doesn't stop here. So what we are going to see next, the most interesting part is going to come next, is that when you are going to work with the score. So this is all very similar what you have seen till now. So you can use length function to get the length of the text. All those things are fine. So you can actually use the next topic after we understand these things, is that we already see that how you can use SQL select clauses to work with the embeddings, right? What is going to happen next is this is an introduction about pipeline. Okay, so in TxtAi there is something called as pipeline classes, and already they have been coded. So there is a pipeline class where you can do translation. So inside this translation, the methods, the languages that you want to translate can be coded into it. So I'm not going to explain this in detail here. So just I'm using this translation class here, I'm initiating it, and this translate instance is used as the function here. So when you're creating the embedding instance, so it is used as a function here. And once you create that kind of embedding instance, then you have to push the data into this embedding, and you have to create a new instance, new index actually. And that new index, so you see here, so you use this regular select clause, that is query, and you call the text, and this text you are going to call it on translation function. So you can actually translate the output text into German, into Spanish, into French, all this in a single query itself. So all these models are going to pull directly from the Hugging Face Hub, and the translation happens in the when the query is getting executed. So this is something totally different from whatever I've seen till now, and the level of abstraction that has gone into this is really spellbinding. Because see, and also a couple of other examples that TxtAi, the guys at TxtAi have shown is also really different. So what I am trying to say here is that, think about it. So there is a model that gets translates from English to Germany. There is another model that gets translates from English to Spanish, and another for English to French. All these three models get pulled down, and you see this. You see the RAM that is getting occupied here. It's almost 7 GB. So all these models get pulled down, gets loaded into RAM, and then the output. You see the output here. You see the English. You see the German, Spanish, and French translation given to you directly when you execute this search query. And all you did was that you wanted to ask for the similarity here. Now think about what you can do with such a level of abstraction. And as I was also explaining in the beginning, right, you don't need to work with single model. You can work with multiple models. That actually changes the way you can actually deal with testing when you are trying to test it. And it doesn't stop with the translation pipeline that you are going to use. You can use regular Python function also. So here is an example where I show, just a minute, I think I crossed it. Yeah, this is the regular Python function. It is called as clength. You can use this function, and you can again push that into the into the function into the functions also. And then, so let me actually do a, yeah, that will be better. So you can, like how I push the function here, so translate, you can push the C length also here, and then once you have that function, then you can query the C length also. This is something that you can augment it. This is a very different way of looking at embedding. This is a very different way of working with the pipelines that is surrounding the machine learning models. So this is I hope that you guys understand the benefits of such a way of working with pipelines. This is a real pipeline, in fact. And next is this is another introduction about the pipeline. This is called as extractor pipeline. So this extractor pipeline will help you to connect the embeddings with the large language models. Like for an example, FLAN T5 base. This is a very basic model that is available for language models, and you can use the prompts to start querying the underlying embeddings. So this is what you see here. So this is a prompt that I am asking that answer the following question, and I'm giving the question along with the context. So this context will come from the vector embeddings that is already available. So in this case of the extractor, what happens is the model, Google model gets downloaded, and then once you send this query, so once you try to extract it using this query, what happens that this is a different kind of a setup you have to use. So you need to have the answer that you are asking for. You need to send the query. So the query as well as the prompt. The prompt is going to come from here. So prompt will be formed actually, and then it will get extracted. So the search function will do that everything for you guys. So when I say, okay, what is a self-ask algorithm? So this search will actually take the query, and then it will parse the query into the extractor and then send the answer out. So what is a self-ask algorithm? A structured prompting lets you easily plug in search engine to answer the follow-up questions. So this is what the answer comes out. Now, the idea of working with these models like this is also pretty new. So we have already seen this in LangChain. They have a kind of a construct around, they have a kind of a class around each of the models, and then they query, then we use it as the large language models. So here what we can do is we can use these extractors in the pipelines itself. There also you can use it, but here it is much more intuitive because you are going to loop through this list of documents, and you can ask the questions. And this is just the introduction of what pipelines can do in TxtAi. And I had to introduce this because TxtAi pipelines was used in SQL as SQL functions here. So that was the main reason why I had to do. So let us go back to the presentation here. So this presentation was totally a different concept that was introduced here. How to use SQL based querying, and not just that, how to use custom SQL based function inside TxtAi execution environment. So there are lots of concepts involved here. So it's not just about the vector embeddings here. We have got SQL involved, we have got Python involved, we have got pipelines and workflows involved here. So there are lots of things acting in unison. So it will take a little bit of a practice for you guys to understand this. It took some time for me also. So I'll be sharing the link of that particular notebook, this particular notebook to you guys. Do practice with it, try to play with it. You might find that something I have missed also. So do let me know in the comment, and leave a like for this video if you like it, and subscribe to my channel so that further updates very similar to this videos will be shared with you guys. So with that said, I would like to take a leave from this video with the 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys and have a great time.